If you just inherited a home with a past due mortgage, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do so you don't lose that house. Yes, if there's a mortgage on that house and you want to keep that house, you will be responsible for that mortgage. The lender does not care, unfortunately, that you had a death in the family. Their obligation is to get the money for that loan. So here's what you need to do. The biggest mistake that I see people make is not contact the lender, and the mortgage is continually going past due and they lose the house just because they were not able to catch up on the mortgage. And when they realize that they have to catch up on that mortgage, it's been past due 3 or 4 months, and it's a challenge to get caught up on it. So here's what you need to do first. In order to speak to the lender, you have to show that you have authority to speak on the mortgage. The first thing you need to do is to get a death certificate. The easiest way to get the death certificate is simply to call the county clerk in the records office, and they will give you instructions on how to get a death certificate. It's super easy. All you have to do is be a family member and request it. There's options where they'll allow you to get it same day, or there's longer options that'll take a couple weeks if I'm not mistaken. Once you get the death certificate, make sure to show that to the lender. Other things you could do to prove that you can speak to a lender is you can show them a will, you can show them an affidavit of heirship. If you have a trust document, you can show that as well. Once you prove that you're the successor in interest for that property, you can request what's called temporary forbearance. This is basically pausing the payments from 30 to 90 days so you can get your affairs in order. Even if you have the money to take over the mortgage, I recommend you do this just so you can have some breathing room. After all, you are dealing with a death of a family member. If you inherit this house and you do nothing, the late fees and the mortgage will continue to pile up. So make sure you get this done quickly. As you're talking to the lender, simultaneously, I want you to call the county and let them know that there has been a death. Of course, show the death certificate and prove that you are the heir to this property. So once you do that, contact the county tax office and request collections hold for heirship. Tell them this is an inherited property and we're in the process of establishing heirship. We need a hold of collections and foreclosure while we obtain legal documents. Counties are usually willing to put a temporary hold on foreclosure if you can show that you were working to resolve the issue. Hopefully by now you've paused the mortgage payments that are due. You've stopped the foreclosure from happening on taxes if they're past due on taxes, and you have about 30 to 90 days to get this resolved. Now, during this period, while you're filing for probate or doing what's called an affidavit of heirship to put the property in your name, I want you to decide if you're going to keep it or sell it. Here's how to decide if you can keep it or sell it. I know it has sentimental value, but the biggest deciding factor is, can you afford to pay for the mortgage every month on top of your already expenses? Can you afford to pay for the taxes? Can you afford to pay for the upkeep, such as the foundation, the roof, the plumbing? Especially if this is an older house, those things can be quite costly. Now, one of the biggest challenges when people inherit a home is they want to keep the property and keep the family legacy. The way to keep the family legacy, in my opinion, is if you can't afford that property, sell the property, take that money and perhaps purchase a property that you can afford. That way, you're still keeping the family legacy. You can pass down the new property and it's easier to maintain. So that's one thing you can do. If you're going to sell the property, the first thing you need to do is figure out how much the property is worth. Easy ways to find out how much the property is worth is simply put the property in Google, and Zillow is going to give you a rough estimate of what they think the property is worth. However, Zillow does not have all the information, such as the condition of the property. They're just making a guesstimate. I would say Zillow is right about 50 to 60% of the time, and that's just been my experience. Another way to figure out what the property is worth is to get a certified market analysis. Any realtor is going to be willing to give you a certified market analysis for free in hopes to earn your business. If they're trying to charge you, in my opinion, that's a red flag. Another way to figure out what the property is worth is to simply get an appraisal. Now, an appraisal is going to run you anywhere from $500 to $1,500. I think the most accurate way to figure out what a property is worth is to go through a realtor and get that certified market analysis. Now, be careful what realtor you chose. I just had a seller call me trying to sell their fixer-upper, and the realtor took pictures on their iPhone and overpriced the property just because it was in a good area. And now it's been on the market for 70 days and nobody's buying it because they think there's something wrong with it. Make sure that realtor takes professional pictures and make sure that realtor prices it correctly. Now, if you don't want to pay a realtor, if you don't want to go through that, you can always sell it directly to an investor. Now, if your property is worth $200,000, the certified market analysis, minus repairs, etc., your offer should be coming in close to what it's worth, right? 195, 180, 210. Some investors try to lowball you. For us, we try to give you what the property is actually worth. So if you do want a cash offer, reach out to OT Home Buyers. We'd love to give you a cash offer. We can also give you an assessment on what your property is worth.